In this video, I'm going to show you what the changes are for Beta Release 22. So I'm going to just click on from freeze-works.com. I'm going to click on the Grid Designer tab. That'll bring up the Grid Designer. And if you have the tab already open, be sure you go and refresh the screen. Either click the browser refresh here, save your work first if you're working on something, then click the browser refresh, or go here and click reload. And then when you get done, it should say about Beta.22. So that's the code that I'm going to show you here. This was a very small change that was brought about by a couple of people asking me about how they could do granny squares in Grid Designer. And there are things in the library down here. There are patterns in the library to do granny squares, but I hadn't ever worked out, the whole thing for that. And I'm going to be putting out another video on how to do granny square designs later today. So that'll be coming up. But I added a couple of things to make that a little bit easier. I mean, the things are still already in the library, but to the new project menu here. So when I bring that up, I've added a granny square crochet option here with one predefined gauge. And I'm going to be explaining what this is and how I measured that and what it means for Grid Designer in terms of how the blocks work out on the screen and that kind of things in the next video. But another thing that I did change on this screen was there used to be a calculate button down here where you would say calculate, and you would put in your height and width in inches or centimeters, and then it would compute the number of rows and columns. And then if you change the columns, it didn't update the height and width. So now it's doing that. So instead of doing that calculate thing, and this is actually consistent with another dialog that I have that does it exactly this way. So instead of doing the calculate button, now what it is that you have these buttons here where you can change the number of rows or columns, or you can type in, number of rows. And as soon as you do that, it will calculate the height and width over here too with the columns. But that is if you have put in any kind of the sizing data up here. You have to have some relationship between your grid and inches or centimeters in order for it to do this calculation. So once you've filled in the information up here, then you can get that calculated down here. I also did find a couple of bugs in this dialog that I also fixed. So really, this is the only change in Beta.22, and it was primarily done just as a real quick thing, so I can show how you can do some granny square crochet designs inside of Grid Designer. Okay, so that's about it. Thank you very much for watching. Bye bye.